Comparison. As you can see, I'm not in my normal environment. I'm out of town working for the weekend, and although I'm still very, very tired, I still managed to watch Outlander because I love it so much, so we're gonna do the comparison. Now, if you haven't watched the episode yet, or plan on reading the book, there are spoilers coming, so you've been warned. Today we are comparing episode 206, Best Laid Schemes, to Dragonfly and Amber, chapters 23 and 24. And Best Laid Schemes is essentially best laid plans of mice and men. It's pretty much the same thing. So, here we go. In our episode, in our book, we meet Monsieur Furet, and I think we might have referenced him before, but we really get a taste of him this week. Now, our show and our book are a little bit different in this encounter. In the show, it's actually Claire, and she's just at the hospital with the Hangman, Mr. Foray, and he's actually hinting at the fact that Claire knows Master Raymond, hangs out with him a lot, and that the king is kind of trying to get rid of the people that might be in the occult, and people think that Master Raymond might be. So he's actually going on and on about how to kill somebody as the Hangman, but in a very showy way. And he's hinting to Claire that Mr. Raymond might be the one to be killed like that. In our book, it's very different. Monsieur Furet comes to Claire and Jamie's house, and the warning is for Jamie, which I believe is more historically accurate because the Hangman is gruesomely describing a traitor's death. Jamie recently mentioned a couple pages before that if all of the Scottish Highland clansmen knew what he was really doing, they would call it treason. And so the Hangman is talking about a traitor's death. And it's very interesting to see him and Jamie's dynamic. And, you know, Jamie is such a strong man, and he doesn't really flinch as he's doing all this talking about this gruesome death. But you can definitely see that Jamie's like, okay, I get your point, and, yeah, thanks for that. So, it's a very interesting way of this encounter in our book. In this episode, Jamie finally tells Murtagh why they're doing all this, why they're trying to stop Charles Stewart, why they're just doing all of the stuff they've been doing. In our book, we know that Murtagh knows who Claire is already because Jamie actually tells Murtagh while he's healing back at the Abbey, but while Jamie thinks he's dying, that all we really know is Jamie says that he told Murtagh who Claire is and to take her back to the stones. So in the book, we can kind of infer and imagine what Murtagh may or may not know. We obviously know that he would know that Claire's from the future, but does he know that in the future she's married to a Randall? Does she know the history? We just really don't know. It's just Jamie tells Claire that he told Murtagh who she is. And essentially, our show did it a lot of the same way because they kind of have Claire watching out the window where Jamie and Murtagh are talking and they're speaking in Gaelic. So, also, we don't really know what's happening unless you know the language. So, it's very free form, you know, how much does Murtagh know or not know? But in the show, it is very special when Murtagh tells Claire, wow, that's such a burden to bear, and I wouldn't want to be the one to bear that burden, so I'm sorry you have to deal with all this. I really enjoyed in the show seeing them testing out the potions on Jamie. It's so much like the book. You see Claire put the nettles on Jamie, and within a couple minutes, he's already red, and they're testing the medicines, and they're getting all sick. And so it's very funny and cool to see that. In the book, it's actually Murtagh who is the one who's gonna be taking all these potions and posing as the sick person. I actually really like how they do it in the show, where we bring in Fergus, and he goes where the sailors are, and he's, spiking their drinks with the medicines to make them appear sick, and he's putting the nettles in their clothes. So it's actually pretty cool how they did that, and I really enjoyed it. If you can recall back to last week, you might remember that Jamie challenges Blackjack to a duel, and then Claire begs him not to do it, and so Jamie agrees to let Blackjack live for 1 year. Jamie tells Claire finally why he agreed to let Blackjack live. And it's very similar in our book and our show. It just happens in our book in a carriage, and in the show at their house. So it's very similar. But what it comes down to is Jamie says, I agreed to let Blackjack live because of Charles Stewart. And at first, you, as the audience, and Claire are kind of, what? That doesn't make any sense. And this, I've always felt, has been the turning point of the entire book. And from Outlander up until this moment is the apex for me. Because this is what explains so much other things. When you read the book, and you start out in 1968, and you're thinking, wait, how did we get here? What? This doesn't... I love how the book starts in 1968, because it's just so shocking. It's great. You're confused from page 1. And this is our turning point. Because Jamie says, because Charles Stewart might fail, because of all you know about history, there may come a point where I might be gone, and I want you to have somewhere where you belong, someone who loves you. So promise me that if it should come to it, you will go back through the stones and go back to Frank. Now, everything ends up shifting at the end of this chapter and this episode. We finally see a showdown between Jamie and Randall. And I gotta say, I loved it, because I'm not a super action person, but it was great to see a good long sword battle. It just was what you needed. At the same time, a major thing is happening because Claire is losing her child. It's that juxtaposition of physical battle and an internal physical battle happening in the same environment, feet away from each other. It's so intense. Now you might be wondering why exactly Randall and Jamie have a showdown after Jamie essentially just said, yeah, if things should happen, you need to go back to Frank. Well, I think that in our show it will be explained, as it is explained also later in our book. But I think maybe that might wait till next week, so we're not going to go there yet. Overall, I loved chapters 23 and 24, as well as episode 206. It by far is the most intense episode that we've had to this point this season, but it really needs to be that way. You may have a lot of unanswered questions after watching this episode, but I think a lot of them will be answered very soon. And as I said before, to me, this is the turning point. This is where everything shifts from here on out. Thank you for watching this week's Outlandish Comparison. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all next week.
his call.